the world's worst wisher. Grover Gray wished and wished and wished, but nothing ever happened. In all the books he read, other boys and girls got their wishes, and he wished he would get his wishes too. But he never did. He wished for a strawberry shortcake as big as a bathtub, but he didn't get it. He wished for his own personal horse, but he didn't get it. He wished for a sailboat with green sails, but he didn't get it. He was very discouraged. Grover liked to sit by the edge of the brook that ran past his house. He would scrunch up his eyes and wish for something, and then he would pop his eyes open. But all he ever saw was the brook that ran past his house. He was very discouraged. One day, he was sitting by the edge of the brook, and he thought it would be nice to have a reindeer. He could ride it, and then, at night, he could hang his clothes on the reindeer's horns. So, he scrunched up his eyes and he said, "I wish I had a reindeer with 4 hooks on its horns for my shirt, my pants, and my socks." He opened his eyes and looked around. Nothing. He was very discouraged.
Sadness, sadness, sadness.
Sadness is when your wishes don't come true. Sadness is when there's no one home but you.
Sadness is a broken kite, a scary night, a losing fight. Yes, anything that's bad can make you sad. Sadness, sadness.
Sadness is when your wishes don't come true. Sadness is when there's nothing left to do.
Sadness is a runny nose, your dirty clothes, a wilted rose, or just suppose that your wishes don't come true. That's when things seem bad and you feel sad.
Sadly, Grover said, "I wish I had a fairy who would let me have a whole bunch of wishes." He had forgotten to scrunch up his eyes, so he was very surprised when he saw a big purple bubble float through the air and come to rest on a rock in the middle of the brook. Out of the bubble stepped a fairy carrying a road map. "Excuse me, little boy," said the fairy. "I'm lost, and I wonder if you can tell me how to get to London town." Grover was so excited that he didn't even hear what she said. He just kept saying over and over, "I got my wish, I got my wish, I got my wish." "What wish?" asked the fairy. "I got you," said Grover. "I wished for a fairy, and zoom, along you came in your big purple bubble." The fairy laughed.
I didn't come because you wished for me, she said. I just happened to be lost, and I saw you there, and I thought maybe you could help me find my way.
Grover began to cry. Just a little, of course, because he was almost 7 and seldom cried any more. But he felt he deserved a small cry. It was so disappointing to think one of his wishes had come true, and then to find out it really wasn't a wish come true at all. It was just a lost fairy.
Don't cry,
Said the fairy.
If you stop crying, I will give you a bunch of wishes. I hate to see big boys cry.
So Grover stopped crying.
What's your name?
Asked the fairy. Grover Gray, said Grover Gray. What's your name?
My name is Harriet Lillian Mabel, but everybody calls me Harriet the Fairy.
Harriet the fairy was a brand new fairy. In fact, she had gotten her wings from fairy training school only the day before. She had been told to go to London town and open a fairy office there. But Harriet wasn't very good yet at flying, or finding her way, or, for that matter, and saddest of all, at granting wishes. She wasn't dumb. She was just a little clumsy and forgetful, mostly because of her inexperience.
She waves her wand to cast a spell, to change a desert to a well. But then she makes a small mistake. Presto change.
Eek!
It's a snake.
She's a failure as a fairy. She is something quite contrary. She's a failure as a fairy. Don't you find that extraordinary? She doesn't act like fairy should. She does her best, but her best is not so good. She tries to make a prince appear where once there stood a little deer. She waves her silver wand and then the deer is gone.
Oops!
That's a hen.
She's a failure as a fairy. She is something quite contrary. She's a failure as a fairy. Don't you find that extraordinary? She doesn't act like fairy should. She tries her best, but her best is not so good.
If you tell me how to get to London town,
She said.
I will grant you one wish for every tear that drizzled down your face just now.
Grover told her how to get to London town. Actually, it was very easy, over the hill and through the trees. So he did it very quickly.
All right,
Said Harriet the fairy.
a promise is a promise. Let's see how many tears drizzled down your face.
She counted them, and they came to 15. And there was half a tear in the corner of Grover's left eye.
I'll give you 15.5 wishes.
She said. Grover immediately felt a lot better. Then Harriet got back in her purple bubble, waved her magic wand 3 times, and flew off over the hill and through the trees to London town. But because she wasn't very good at flying, her bubble hit a tree, and she got stuck in the branches. Grover didn't know about Harriet the fairy's mishap. He was too busy thinking about his 15.5 wishes. He wondered what he should wish for first. He thought it might be a good idea to start with a little wish and work his way up to the big stuff. So he scrunched up his eyes and said, "I wish I had a baby brother." When he opened his eyes, he looked around for his baby brother. There was no baby anywhere. Instead, on the rock in the middle of the brook, there was a puppy dog. It went, "Yip, yip." "Are you my baby brother?" asked Grover. "You look more like a puppy dog." "Yip, yip," went the puppy dog. Grover grabbed the puppy dog in his arms, and he ran home and said to his mother, "Mommy, this is either your new son or my new puppy dog." Mrs. Gray laughed. "Where did you get the puppy?" she asked. "I wished him," said Grover. "May I keep him?" "Where will he sleep?" Mrs. Gray asked. "I'll wish up a nice doghouse for him," said Grover. So he scrunched up his eyes and he said, "I wish for a doghouse for my baby brother or my new puppy dog." When he opened his eyes, there in the corner of the living room was a great big Christmas tree, all decorated with glittery lights. "Your father and his silly jokes," said Mrs. Gray.
There's a Christmas tree in the living room, but there's something very wrong, 'cause it will be a month of Sundays till Christmas comes along. An extra Christmas this must be, and then it's quite all right with me. One Christmas never is enough, you see. I wish we had 2 each year.
Or 3.
An extra Christmas would be great, a holiday I advocate. It would be fun if we could celebrate 6 Christmases every year.
Or 8. Christmas in December
Is easy to remember, but wouldn't it be hip hooray to have a Christmas say in May? An extra Christmas would be fine, just like a second Valentine. In the calendar that I designed, there'd be 8 more Christmases.
or 9.
There's a Christmas tree in the living room, but there's something very wrong, 'cause it will be a month of Sundays till Christmas comes along.
Grover knew it wasn't his father who had put up the Christmas tree. He couldn't understand why his wishes had gotten mixed up. He went back to the edge of the brook to try and figure things out. The little puppy dog came along too, yipping all the way. Grover named the puppy Graham because he had heard his mother say that if they had another boy, they would call him Graham. Grover decided to try another wish to see what would happen. He scrooged up his eyes and said, "I wish it would snow so I could go riding on my sled." He opened his eyes, and there was a strawberry shortcake as big as a bathtub. Grover went and got a plate and a knife and a fork and came back and had 7 pieces of strawberry shortcake. This gave Grover a little stomach ache, so he said, "I wish my little stomach ache would go away." But it didn't. Instead, he noticed that he was now wearing an Indian costume. He even had war paint on his face. The next day, Grover felt very much better. His mother thought he was well enough to take a bath, to wash off all that Indian war paint. Grover was not especially fond of taking baths, and so, while he was sitting in the tub, he accidentally made another wish. "I wish I never had to take another bath," he wished. Suddenly, there was a horse in the bathroom. He knew his mother wouldn't like that, so he quickly wished the horse would disappear. It didn't. Instead, he found there was a pretty little sailboat with green sails floating in the tub. Then he wished that a big storm would come up in the bathtub so he could see how seaworthy the sailboat was. There was no storm, but the horse vanished. Grover was glad to see him go. Grover didn't wish any more after that. Not for a few days, anyhow. Instead, he worried. Any boy would worry if he thought he was the world's worst wisher.
World's worst wisher, the world's worst wisher. When you try, then try your most. Be the tops from coast to coast. Don't be an also-ran, be first. If not the best, at least be worst. Hooray for the worst, from the bottom up he's first. He's not just someone in the pack. He never found the knack of ending up on first. He's something quite apart.
He's worse.
Do your best to get ahead, but after all is done and said, who are the stars of life's big cast? The ones who finish first and last. Hooray for the worst, from the bottom up he's first. He's not just someone in the pack. He never found the knack of ending up on first. He's something quite apart.
He's worse.
To the grindstone put your nose. Always stand up on your toes. Just do your work and you will find you're far ahead or far behind. Hooray for the worst, from the bottom up he's first. He's not just someone in the pack. He never found the knack of ending up on first. He's something quite apart.
He's worse.
Grover didn't know that the trouble wasn't with him, but with Harriet the fairy, who wasn't very good at wish-granting. Grover worried so much that he couldn't eat and couldn't sleep, and he lost weight, and his mother thought he was sick and sent for the doctor.
What seems to be the trouble, young man?
Said Dr. Hochter. I can't wish very well, said Grover.
Try wishing and let me see,
said Dr. Hochter. So Grover scrunched up his eyes and made his 8th wish. He wished that he had a genuine dinosaur tooth. But even before he opened his eyes, he knew he had goofed again. He heard the doctor yell. When he opened his eyes, Grover saw what had gone wrong. The horse was back.
There's a horse in your son's bedroom,
said Dr. Hochter to Grover's mother and father.
I don't think that's very sanitary.
Grover's father led the horse down the stairs and outside. He couldn't understand where the horse had come from, but he tied him in the garage anyhow. The doctor gave Mrs. Gray some medicine for Grover to take and went away, shaking his head. Grover hated medicine, so he figured he would wish it away. I wish the medicine was gone, he said. He looked around, but the medicine was still there. And on the floor next to his bed stood a reindeer with 4 hooks on its horns, and Grover's shirt, pants, and socks hanging on the hooks. Grover liked the reindeer, but still it wasn't what he had wished for. It was very distressing. He thought maybe Harriet the fairy hadn't heard him distinctly. So this time he said in a very loud and very distinct voice, I wish the medicine was gone. The medicine was still there, but the reindeer was gone, and Grover's clothes were in a messy pile on the floor. By this time, poor Grover didn't know what to think. He knew that something was wrong in the wishing department, but he decided to make a few fast wishes just to see what would happen. He wished for a plate of baked beans. And the horse came back from the garage. He wished for a telescope and got another horse. No, this wasn't a horse. It was a unicorn. He wished for a triple-deck bunk bed. And the horse went away. Oh, that was just as well, because the bedroom was getting a little crowded. He wished for a lifetime supply of bubble gum. And the unicorn went away. After that, Grover didn't wish any more. It was too hard on his nerves. He just stayed in bed and took his medicine. When he was all better, Grover went back to his favorite spot by the brook. He counted up and realized he only had 1.5 wishes left. He was determined to save them for emergencies. An emergency arose very quickly. Grover realized he was very hungry, so he wished for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Only half a sandwich, he added, figuring that way he would only use up the half wish and still have the whole one left. opened his eyes, and there was Harriet the fairy and her purple bubble. She was leading half a horse, the front half.
Did you wish for this thing?
She asked.
I've been stuck up in that awful tree for days, and when I thought you said you wanted half a horse, I struggled and got free, because I couldn't believe anybody would wish for half a horse.
Half a loaf is better than none.
Half of two is always one.
Half a laugh
Is a smile, of course, but half a horse is a total loss.
half a brain is common sense.
Half a tuppence is just 1 pence.
Half an orchard is
Applesauce, but half a horse is a total loss. What good is half a horse at all?
He'd have to live in half a stall.
He'd have to run in half a race and trot along at half a pace. He'd only jump a half a fence, and you would say half the horse expense.
Makes sense.
Half a peach is at least a pit.
Half a slot is a slender slit. Half a dream
Is a wish, of course, but half a horse is a total loss.
I didn't wish for half a horse, said Grover. I wished for half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I thought I must have misunderstood,
Said Harriet the fairy.
Wishing for half a horse didn't seem very sensible. But nevertheless, I went to a lot of trouble to get it. So I'm afraid it counts.
Grover told Harriet the fairy about how all his wishes had gone wrong. Harriet the fairy hung her head and said she was very, very sorry, but she just wasn't much good at wish granting. I still have one wish left, said Grover. Harriet started to cry. It was very sad for a fairy to be bad at something fairies are supposed to be good at. Grover felt sorry for her. Then she lifted her head, and she held her magic wand very tightly, and she said,
Grover, I will try my very hardest to make your last wish come true in every particular.
Grover knew exactly what he was going to wish for. He scrooched up his eyes, and he made his wish very distinctly. I wish, he said, that from now on, Harriet the fairy becomes the best fairy ever, the best wish granter, and the best flyer, too. When he opened his eyes, Harriet the fairy was gone. But way up in the sky, whizzing along like a sunbeam, he saw a purple bubble heading straight for London town. Grover took Graham in his arms and skipped back to the house. He felt very good, so he thought maybe his last wish had really come true after all.
What do you do when things look calm? Don't sit there and suck your thumb. What do you do when things look black? Don't lie around there on your back
and watch your step.
That's cloudy and gray. Don't wait around for a better just one more wish.
I wish I had a wish, so I could wish I had a wish.
I